Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with Marky D. As always, how you going, mate?
Check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. How we going? Check. Am I online?
It started to sound like that Will Smith song. What's that?
Switch.
Yeah, Switch. That's it.
Talk about Switch.
Is that the song that he released from the movie Hitch?
I don't know, but I'm just thinking, like, did
like
Nintendo Switch? Did they use that song by Will Smith?
Because most people that play Nintendo Switch, I mean, I've got a Switch, but like most people that play Switch were born way after that song was released.
I just thought it would be a great marketing ploy. Nah, I'm doing really well, man, because I'm pretty fired up this week. All I've heard is because we lost the game, right? And it's Trubisky's threw the game away 110%. But all I've heard is that Mike Tomlin's going to the Panthers. I just don't understand and where that rumor's come from. And all I've heard all week is that Mike Tomlin
is this weird ESPN or Bleacher article or something. I saw that like a week ago, and then it's funny it started rolling around the YouTube, podcast, social media.
It's all over the shop now.
Whatever.
Everyone's saying that Tomlin has a chance to be traded to the Panthers, and they're saying, and the Fire Tomlin crew is so happy. And I was like, oh boy, here we go.
But it's like what I said to you when you were doing your broadcasting live on Steeler Nation Australia, which is an awesome platform that you've been running for years, and Facebook side as well, and that's where the group sort of sits. Really, like for listeners of this show, audio or on YouTube, Facebook right now, it's an awesome platform. Mark accepts people from not just Australia, so definitely jump in there. But
Bengals fans though. I don't like Bengals fans. So you can't go.
But like as I said to you, I'd got to try. I'd have to go and try and pull the comment up, and the audio would switch over. But like as I said to you, fine if Tomlin fans, Tomlin haters, trade him to the Panthers for 3 or 4 picks, right? Lose for 5 years by drafting people, but having to then trade people away all the time because you're not doing anything. And then you'll be needing to trade future round draft picks back to try and get Tomlin back or another good coach somewhere along the line. And we'll be the 5 to 10 years with just losing seasons. Like the idea of doing that is ludicrous. Who is going to take over that's free right now?
I don't know.
You're not going to take Belichick. Frank Reich, I don't think so. Like, why would you do? Like, it's just a stupid narrative.
What's good trading away your coach when you get the draft picks and have no one to use them? What, you're going to promote up Matt Canada? You're going to promote up possibly Brian Flores? I think it is absolutely ludicrous too that I saw this rumor starting. And
maybe trade Flores. Maybe trade Flores.
Brian Brown says
I don't think you only get picks for a head coach and coordinator.
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. But
you wouldn't get it for a special assistant.
Brian Brown says Mike Florio started that about Coach T.
Yeah, I did see it. I did see it on Florio. I didn't know whether he had picked it up from somewhere else. I don't know. Like the whole thing.
Legit. What are the odds of that happening? I reckon it's like the same odds as us for the playoffs right now, about 1%. Like there's
if he's going to go to any team, because I've heard people talk about different teams that would trade for him. There was another team as well. Who was it? There was another, I can't remember who the other team was that I've seen rolling around that people were sure as eggs on. But the thing is, with the Panthers, that kind of makes more. I wish I knew who the other team was. Anyway, the Panthers makes more sense because of Tepper, right? Remember, David Tepper was the part owner that now owns the Panthers. So I kind of get that. But also, unless you were trading Brian Burns and like 5 first-round draft picks, I would just never take that deal. Like, how can you equate wins for draft picks? It just doesn't make sense.
The best thing would be whatever team he goes to in that previous coach. If Mike Tomlin went and won a Super Bowl, they'd be like, they weren't his players, they were the ex-coach's players.
But you know what? Maybe that fan base wouldn't do that because they'd be legit, like. Actually be realistic. The only coach that I would ever bring in instead of Mike Tomlin that's in the league right now, and people like challenge me on this, because they might think there's other coaches. There's 2, maybe Sean McDermott, but the actual coach I'd bring in is Sean Payton, and Sean Payton ain't coming to join the Steelers. Sorry guys, he's not doing that. The other thing is, that people keep talking about trading away Tomlin. Tomlin is right now on a. I don't remember seeing a dollar figure. I don't think they released it for his last coaching deal. but one of the figures out there was like a $7.8 million deal. He's certainly not
Really?
expensive head coach in the NFL. Like value for money, and the Pittsburgh Steelers organization and the ownership are not like a lot of the owners for a lot of other teams where they've got loads of money coming in. A lot of their money is tied up in the value of the team. So, like, I've even heard a piece that talks about as gambling revenues go up and the tax goes up on teams, in 20, 30 years' time, the Rooney family might have trouble actually keeping full ownership of the Steelers, which is an interesting one for the offseason to talk about. But the thing is that you bring in, if you're going to replace Tomlin with a coach remotely of that standard, can you afford to pay the guy? Like, it's so
I just
ridiculous
don't understand.
take. It's so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I don't understand how you want to trade. The Roonies would trade away a guy that has never had a losing season. I know the Tomlin haters had all hate that one, which doesn't make any sense, right? They talk about win a playoff game or win a Super Bowl. How do you win a Super Bowl? You win games in the season. You never have a losing season to get yourself there. So you don't make the argument makes no sense, right? And a lot of these Tomlin haters make no sense. But Tomlin has won 159 games in his career, right? Lost 93. He's positive. Why would the Roonies trade away him?
But it's like I said this week on Steelers War Room. I said on the War Room show, I do midweek on the audio side for BTSC. Tomlin has never finished fourth in the division, ever.
Really? There you go.
Yeah, he's only finished third, I think it's like 2 or 3 times in like 16 plus seasons. Like, think about that. Like, you've got to think about that if you're not a fan of Tomlin. You coach for that long, you've not even come fourth.
That's
there
pretty
are some
good.
coaches that have only won the division 2 or 3 times. There's some coaches that never win the division.
If he can sneak away with this one, and they still got a chance as well, I think Carolina's like a 50-50 game. Actually, a lot of these games are pretty 50-50 because Kenny Pickett will be out. I think he's out now. But if Tomlin can sneak away and get 9-8, right? And with 9-8 with this squad and have a chance for the playoffs, they're a 1% shot. They're really they're not mathematically out of it. But think about that. All the Tomlin haters, what did you really expect? And it just doesn't make any sense. The more I think about it, it always happens after a loss because it won't happen now. If they win this game, then we'll be quiet again. But there's no way they're trading him. They're not firing him. He's on contract to 2024. The only way that he walks away is that on his own doing, which would be in 2024 after that season. That's
I do think the pressure dials up next season a little bit, depending on how they finish.
If he starts losing and stuff like that, but it's not going to happen now.
But I do. I mean, to me, I know they just made him DC. I would be, even if you just want the draft picks, I would be in 3 seconds after the season. I would punt Teverell Austin and I'd put Brian Flores in as the DC. I know they keep thinking he'll get a head coach, but I don't care. Like, you can find a DC in this league, or if Teverell Austin's still sitting there and go back to I wouldn't even care if you went back to him. I just think it's smart franchise stuff. Like I think Brian Flores should be the defensive coach. And then even if he left to go somewhere else to be a head coach, you could pull a top quality defensive assistant somewhere else and bring them in. Like, I don't think that's an issue to me.
Do you think that's enough shake-up to say let go of Austin and then let Brian Flores, take full control of the defense? Because the defense has been pretty bad this year as well, right? Is that enough shake-up right there?
The thing that it's interesting, and I'm doing an injury report in the game, but this is really important stuff, particularly given the Steelers are like 1 loss away from bye-bye to the rest of the season, as the title says, and it all goes sour.
Pretty much.
I know that I sit on this, I wave this banner constantly, and I know you've been crediting me, not just on BTSC, but on other shows as well. I said all off-season, you needed a top quality cornerback somehow. How can you run a Teverell Austin defensive back secondary-led defense instead of a Keith Butler-led linebacker defense with sacks? And especially with TJ Watt injured a little bit last year. You saw the impact now. He's been injured a lot more this year. How the hell do you run a Teverell Austin defense and you have the average quality of cornerbacks that we have? It does not make sense to not have a number one. So if you don't have a plan to get a number one, whether that's free agency, trade, draft, then I don't understand the point.
Yeah, well, we started the
Do you
year
know what
off.
I mean?
With,
I don't get the point of having Terrell Austin lead the defense. It doesn't make sense.
well, we started the year off with like Kelly Witherspoon and Levi Wallace was on one of our pickups, but he wasn't a big pickup. Now I was excited for those two fellas because Witherspoon ended really strong, and Wallace was a turnover machine in Buffalo. But other than that, you're right. We don't have a quarterback number one, and they've been like injured
But they're
or
all really good. If Wallace was your quarterback number 2, if Witherspoon was your cornerback number 3, if Jackson was your cornerback number 3, and he's just not worth it with the cap hit, he's got to go. I get it completely. Like, great. And Sutton as well as your flex secondary player, like what Kazie's doing. If you've got 2 flex players, even better if you keep Kazie. But you don't have a number 1. And it's blatantly obvious. And Brian Brown in the live chat says, draft Joey Porter. Look, I'd love to see the legacy Joey Porter. I know, Mark, you put out a show. I think it was on Still a Nation about this week. But Joey Porter is not the best cornerback in this draft. And Steeler fans hated when Terrell Edmonds was drafted. If you draft him in the top 15, he's not a top 15 pick in this draft. So I caution everyone on doing that. Early in the second with the 34th pick or whatever it is that we got from the Bears, completely agree. But not the first round draft. He's not worth that.
The show was with myself and State on.
With State of Steelers. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
I was trying to remember.
So Daniel brought up, it works for BTSC too, right? He brought up the saying that to Daniel's credit. He said we need to find bloodlines. So like because Tomlin likes his legacy players that are connected to the team. So of course we've got Hayward. Will Tremaine Edmonds come into to be a middle linebacker if that ever happened? And then Joey Porter would be the guy that Porter used to play for the Steelers. So. Those kind of things are cool.
But that's why I thought they should have drafted Asante Samuel Jr. or I think even JC Horn had a family member that played in the league. JC Horn obviously playing for the Panthers. I think he's injured at the moment. That's why I thought they were going to draft Asante Samuel Jr. because I just thought he was like what he did in the league. I thought that's a Tomlin player, right? But going back to it in terms of Austin, the problem that you've got though is if you move to a linebacker style orientated defense, which is where Flores, if you consider his background, more aligns with. I brought up before on either we were talking before we went on air in one of the shows in the last month or two, or it was on the show. The fact that what you do with Highsmith is really interesting because Highsmith's in his last year next year. If he goes and gets another 10 sacks next year, can the Steelers afford to pay 2 pass rushes with what they're giving TJ Watt? That's a big deal for already the most expensive defense in the league. However, will Cam Hayward be at the end of his time retiring, that sort of thing? Do you draft a good defensive end this year in the draft so that you don't have to renew Ogunjobi? Like and you've got Leal there. Like, there's all these other questions. But what I mean is, if you pick Austin, you need to find a top cornerback somehow and invest, whether it's high draft pick, high cap expenditure there through free agency. But if you pick the other way and you go back to the other way, you got to make a decision that's going to cost you a lot of money around the outside linebackers. So it's pick your poison. But whatever you do, you got to be sure it's working. And I'm not sure what we're doing now is I know it's not working. So
I tell you what, it sounds like a busy off season, doesn't it? Right?
We thought last year was busy. We thought the year before that was busy with the cap lowering of the cap. This year will be nuts.
Lucky our season's over. No, it's not over yet. 1% chance. You tell me there's a chance we can win this. We can still go. We can go to the Super Bowl, I reckon. You heard it first.
Yeah. I mean, look,
why not?
Back to Brian Brown as well. Like I am a fan of Joey Porter Jr. I just don't think he's a top 15 pick in the draft. So anyway.
Right, so you don't want to overreach for him. You want to get him in the right spot. Kind of like where, Connor Hayward kind of fell to us, right? It was kind of cool. He's playing really well.
Look, Connor, if you drafted Connor Hayward in the 5th round, that would have been like, oh, it's just Cam Hayward's brother. But 6th round and beyond was a fair. If they didn't pick him where they picked him, he would have been gone by the time the 7th round draft picks came up. 100%. People like the idea of the flex of Connor.
But he's played well, man. I think he's played a real integral part to this offense. I thought he's been improving every single week. Physical, getting more involved.
I just want to see him used. I want to see him used. The Steelers don't use I know they line him up in the formation that way, but he's not a traditional fullback. So I just think it's a waste of cap. I know you're getting rid of a bloodline.
They've used him more this year, though.
Cap. I would just move Connor Hayward to a H-backy full back, tight end, hybrid. Like I just call him the hybrid role, right? And like then you've got room on the roster for another tight end. I think you need another vertical tight end, not just a blocking tight end. And as Gentry is pretty much a blocking.
Isn't Gentry vertical enough for you, mate? He's like 6'7".
Yeah, no, I mean like a OJ Howard or someone like that. Or if you,
but they've used Watt a little bit more than last year. Like not a lot, but they've used him on fourth down.
Man, look, man, like Sims is our third string wide. Like if Calvin Austin had been in this lineup, like I don't know, like just from the receiving game, like they I'm very cynical on how they're actually using Watt. That's like full stop. That's just my thing. So
yeah, well, it's going to be. That's what I'm saying. The offseason is going to be really busy, but we're not there just yet.
No, we're not. And so I don't want to be all down and sour. Injury report, as always. I promise I won't share any frustrations about the listings. Kenny Pickett, doubtful, limited 3 days. Something in my mind still says that he's a chance at playing, even though they're doubtful.
Yeah, who knows though?
If he was definitely going to be, or they'll let it go to down to the wire. If he was definitely out, I feel like they would have said it by now. Unless they're playing silly, unless they're playing what we'd call silly buggers down under, like just to muck around.
Well, Mike Tomlin never tells you what he's doing ever. He's really secretive about his stuff, so he doesn't. Hasn't told who's going to be number 2 yet. It could be Mason, could be.
Surely it's Mason. I don't know how I'm going to be able to watch this game if it's Mitch again.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. What were your overall thoughts with the 3 picks? So what was the progression of like getting angry? From scale to 1 to 10, how'd it go? Every time he threw one, did it get worse and worse? To me, it did.
It was pretty explicit. It's not, maybe just not for a family show.
Pretty bad, wasn't it?
The third one, at the point of the third one.
That one's bad.
How do you?
Third one's bad.
And the audio listeners can't see this. I'm literally got my head in my hands. I don't understand how you can make that throw. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just...
It was first and 10.
Like, how do you predetermine like that in the league?
Yeah, it's bad.
Like, how do you... But... And the 3 picks, weren't 2 of them on second down and 1 of them on first down? Or was it
there were 2 on first down, 1 on second down. 1 pick was from the 23.
Right. So, like, but that in itself...
Yes. Pretty bad.
How? You don't need to force a throw. Like, throw it out. Throw it up too high. Like throw it through the goal. Like, throw it through the goalposts. Like, I don't know. Like, do something, but don't.
Yeah, it was bad. One was from the 19 over the middle to Muth, I think, and the other one was from 26. And the last one you talked about, the 46-yard line on the opposing 46, was the one to the safety, where the safety played it so well, like as a normal safety would, and had about 5 yard separation for the ball, like an overthrow, and it was done. It was really bad. So yeah, I'm the same. I would rather see Mason out there. I don't think Mason, to be honest, has gotten a fair shot all year. I know. I think they've really handled the quarterback situation really, really funnily. Like,
but all I would do if I was Tomlin, like just to feed off that, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, I'd be going to Mason. I'd be saying, Mason, it's your job this week. Trubisky's proved he can't do it, right? I know that your deal comes off. We'll move Mitch, or we'll look to move Mitch if you can prove it in the offseason. He wants to be in there for a starter role somewhere else. You've seen Kenny. I want to make you my Charlie Batch going forward. Well, I just think for the next 2 or 3 years,
why not?
We should just have the simple thing of Mason or Kenny. And even if Kenny went crazily down or did an ACL, God forbid, and Mason wasn't the guy, deal with that problem then. But I honestly just think Mason knows the system. He's proven he's a mature guy. He's got a decent arm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you wouldn't just...
Experience.
And you know what, Steel fans, we don't have to worry about quarterback. We just focus on building the pieces around him. And Mason proved with enough pieces around him, he's fine. Like, he'll win you 3 or 4. He'll win you, 50% of the games that he plays in. If he only has to play 3 games a season or whatever for Kenny on average, fine. Like, and you invest in the defense. Mason's not going to cost you more than $7 million a year. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't do it.
Here's a question for you. Do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers this year ever had a true outlook at number 1? Because I don't think they did. They never knew who the number 1 was.
No, and I think that's a double-edged sword, right? Because on one hand, I think it's hard to figure that out when you don't know necessarily fully Kenny's progression or not, and not wanting to put too much pressure on, you want to like not blood him, and the hope that Trubisky does really well, so Kenny can just marinate, if you like, on the sidelines and learn and get better. But at the same time, not knowing how efficient or what the Canada offense is really going to look like, to not have picked one person and been able to stick with them unless something terrible like really happened there, I think there's a problem. I said it during the preseason. I said it before we went the season. I know Jeff Hartman, the senior editor of BTSC, said the same thing. Kenny Pickett should have been the guy.
Right.
But hindsight's 2020. Hindsight's 2020. But that's why I think you look at it now and you go, like, Trubisky's not staying on this roster. He's not.
Yeah.
We're not going into 20. We're not going, regardless of what the cap hit is to him. If you can get, even if you got a third round pick for him or a fourth round pick for him, you're trading him or you cut. Like, he's not here. So that's why I would just sit there with Mason. Like, but if I was Mason, I'd go, oh, should I go somewhere else where I get a starting role? Like, look at Baker. Like, he's on his third team. Like, but also I've seen a narrative, I don't know, it was on the Arthur Moat show or something like that, where, do we bring in a Joe Flacco next year once Trubisky and Mason grow? Why? I know, but they were talking about veteran quarterbacks and who you'd bring in. Why would you want that? I don't know why you wouldn't say, even if it's just for 2023, Mason stay, that's who you got. Like, and as some of the guys in the live chat say, Pickens would love Mason. I think Mason, like, even the getting free move the ball with Mason. Like, I know Vance McDonald had a couple of good catches off Mason. I think if I'm correct, Mason through, I think Mason should be the number 2.
That's a good point. So move on from Trubisky next year, and Tomlin says, you know what, we're going to make you Rudolph our guy for number 2. That solves our backup. Give him the contract or whatever, and then have Kenny as a rookie in the starter. Right? That's easy. And
I've got an article on BTSC. People can find it from 2 years ago about Steelers fans being harsh on Mason Rudolph. It was written right before he played that game against the Browns. So 2 years ago, almost. Literally. And maybe it wasn't last year. And if you actually go through what Mason had done at the time, and he didn't win that game due to Baker, there was I won't swear, but there was a ridiculous play in that game, a call in that game from Baker Mayfield about a pass interference that let them go down the end in the fourth quarter and win it, basically. But if you look at that game, like before that game, Mason has definitely never had the love that he deserves. He's never been given the system to work properly in Pittsburgh. What he went through in that first year was unbelievable. He was never ready to start. Like, that was never going to be it. And that's why he was third string. He didn't even have a proper quarterback coach, all these different narratives. And I wouldn't sit there and say the Steelers have done wrong by Mason, because this is just life in the league as a professional football player. Right. He's also made like millions of dollars. He doesn't have to work.
Mate, he's got the best seat in the house, mate. He doesn't dress on Sundays, and he's got a free game. Best seat in the house.
But he wants to compete, and you see it the way he talks to the media. Like, you see him you can see it in his face. Like, he's just like, I want to compete. So honestly, I just think that that's the way they should go. But anyway, getting back to the injury report, as we like to do, Najee Harris, full practice, game status not listed. Cameron Sutton, full practice, Thursday, Friday, not listed. He had a neck stinger. I think he plays. Miles Jack, doubtful with a groin. That could be really interesting for the Steelers. It's also a little bit like why I'm really, in some ways, frustrated they didn't take a linebacker earlier in last year's draft, because I think it would have been really good to see, with like Bush not playing that great and like with Jack potentially having injuries as he gets older. I would have loved to have seen them had a guy like a Chad Moomer and then seen how he did. But I think they'll address that fairly early on in this year's draft. But Spillane is really playing for a contract here or in Pittsburgh, here or elsewhere next year. So if he steps up into the game, he'll be good. I think the Steelers like him and they want to keep him. But this is a game where he can prove that. Freemuth did not practice Wednesday, Thursday with a foot. He said, I think I heard that he said that he injured that early in the Ravens game. Limited on Friday. I think he'd play. Maybe they limit his role. Maybe he just becomes more of like a decoy in the offense for Canada. But let's see. Larry Ogunjobi did not practice Wednesday, Thursday with a toe. Full practice Friday. I'd assume he'd play. Josh Jackson, cornerback, ankle, did not practice Thursday, limited on Friday. I mean, he's a role player for them or depth piece on defense. Maybe he doesn't play, maybe he does. I don't know. Deontay Johnson hip, did not practice Thursday, limited on Friday. If Mason plays, Deontay plays. If Mason doesn't play, maybe Deontay doesn't play.
Well, Deontay said he wanted the Mason to play.
That's what I mean, like, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so I reckon there's a good chance Mason might play. Why not? I really
Deontay had a really good year that year. Anyway, I'll let you talk. I'll pull up the stats.
The fan base just getting after Mason is just ridiculous. You know he's got a winning record as well, right? And he went through all those troubles too, those hits and the Brown stuff. It's like, I don't know. I just want to see. And you know what? If he goes out there and stinks the bed, fair enough. You know, but there's a chance that he can go out there. He's really fresh. He might be a little bit rusty throwing the football, but get the running game behind him. He has to be better than Mitch. Like, Mitch threw the game away. Like, I know Mitch was going down the field and getting yards and pickings and this and that, but he threw the game away, and I don't see Mason doing it.
But who cares about getting yards? He threw the game away. Like,
yeah, it was pretty bad.
It's like, wasn't it? But you know what? Remember when Mike Tomlin benched Mason Rudolph? He said, and why they were picking Duck, and he's like, you know, we can't have him kill us, or whatever the phrase he used.
Right,
was.
and
it's the same thing with Trubisky right now.
Yep.
He's killing us, man.
And even in the 4 games, so the first 4 games, it just wasn't there. It wasn't there for Trubisky. He's slow. He reads down one receiver. It's so, you see him hold the football and you get worried. You're like there's a few times last week that the Ravens were getting around to the corner to almost chop the arm down and fumble. And it's like, man, I wish if Kenny stayed in that game, in my opinion, I think he would have won that game, and we still have our chances to be a little bit higher than 1%. But in saying that, if Tomlin plays Rudolph, I think why not? Because then you are testing him out to be a backup, and if you can have him as a good backup, if he goes and wins this game, then you go, okay, well, he's more reliable than Trubisky. Send him a few dollars, give him a 2-year contract or whatever you'll give him, a 3-year contract for a backup. I'm not too sure what you give him. And Kenny's number one for sure. Build around that offense, and you have a brand new year.
But also with like Mason, like you've got someone that's used to analyzing teams. Trubisky has so much tape on him. He's so figured out by every defensive coordinator because he just scrambles as soon as he gets into a little bit of trouble. He can't make a decision. He always picks the first read. Mason doesn't pick the first read. Mason sits there in the pocket and looks around, right? And people go, he doesn't move enough in the pocket. That was an early criticism. But we were criticizing someone for sitting in the pocket and waiting to take a shot and in his first year and to the point he got, you know, and you and I both agree it was a dodgy hit from the Ravens in that game. But
yeah, big time.
But if you looked at his progression in the games he played the next year or the following year, man, the last 5 years feels like it's been a blur when you think about Steelers football. But it, apart from when you're watching this offense sometimes in the actual game, but Mason had improved and been quicker and been sharper. He does have a good deep ball. Like, I don't know why. Like, what have you got to honestly? What have you got to lose? That's the way I see it.
Really.
And relating it to this game in the context of this game in the season. If you lose this game, season's done. Right?
Yeah, if we lose, we're out.
Games this season. How do you put faith in that? You can't. You're building your house on sand, right?
Yep. Yeah. If Trubisky starts, it's gonna be hard to watch. I think because you don't know what you're gonna get. But at least with Mason, we kind of like we've seen him play before, and give the guy a chance.
If Trubisky starts, honestly, I you know what, I will watch the offense, but I feel like I'll just skip through the offense. I'll sleep in an extra hour. I'll just skip through the offense and then go back and look at the offensive highlights later when they actually do something. Because, what's the point? Because most of the game's going to be defense anyway, because Trubisky's going to throw the ball away.
I missed my first game in 15 years was the Jets game because I slept in because I knew Mitchell was starting. It was after that, the 3 bad performances from him.
I mean, I generally sleep in because it's 4 or 5 in the morning. Often I will sleep in an extra half hour just so I can skip through the timeouts and get to the, I can get through the, if there's an injury or something like that, but, the ad breaks. But
we're gonna see, man. I don't know. I just kind of get a bit frustrated that everyone's going to put a lot of stuff on Rudolph, but, he hasn't even thrown a ball this year. And he looked well in preseason. Give him a shot. I would hope that he would just go out there and tear it up and then tell everyone to be quiet, because he's still fighting in the league for a job. He hasn't got a job next year.
That's what I'm saying. I would just, if you're Mike Tomlin, I'd say, look, mates, it's your job. If whenever Kenny Pickett's not fit this year and next, unless
You think Tomlin calls him Mace or Rudy? What does he call him?
I don't know, QB2.
Oh, he's QB or 2A.
He's got like the two. He's got the two jersey. But yeah, I just to finish this point, and then we got to go to a quick break for a word from our video sponsor. But like, you look this year at Trubisky, like literally 2 wins, and one of them he only played half the game versus 4 losses. I mean, it's atrocious. Like, he's thrown 1,000 yards in 6 games he's played in. He's completed literally 63% of his throws. He's got 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but they're 5 like they interceptions that killed us. Like, lost us 3 games. No.
Yeah, I'm done with the old Trubisky. I think he's done, actually. I don't know where he's going to go if he has a job next year.
Surely he's gone, man. Surely.
They can't stick by him now, can they? Sure, like he can't be a Steeler. He doesn't feel like a Steeler. Kenny feels like a Steeler. Rudolph feels like more like a Steeler than he does. Like, he doesn't look like he cares back there.
Look, the thing is, the Steelers did it's easy to say, like, we could have used that cap elsewhere, but the Steelers did do the right thing of going and getting the best free agent quarterback they could in the draft, the free agent quarterback, and then get in case you didn't get Pickett, they got Pickett. Like, people can criticize it, but like, the Steelers did do the right thing. But Trubisky, it turns out, hey, he hasn't learned as much or developed as much behind Josh Allen as what we thought. I actually think he's regressed.
Yeah, a lot of those passes too in the Ravens game, he was just throwing on his back foot a lot. Like a lot. Always running around on his back foot. First read was terrible. He just doesn't, like, I know he was going down the field, but then he just couldn't finish. And like what you said with Mike Tomlin, if you don't kill us, and he killed us. Then he lost us. Pretty much it was mostly on him to lose that game, and we lost by 2 points. There was chances we could have got field goals and TDs and stuff like that. So,
I mean, the dead cap hit next year is $2.6 million, but you save 8. Like, he's gone, man. He's so gone. Why do you bring that guy back? I'd bring back Mason for that, honestly. You can bring back Mason for 6.5, 7. So Mason's on like 5 right now. Mason gets $2 million more a year, more retirement money, and you've got someone that knows the offense ready to go. That's like, will buy into it. I actually think Kenny and he could have a really healthy relationship too.
Right.
So he's the odd one in the mix.
Ooh. So to end your point, pretty much you're saying start Rudolph, see what you have, get him ready for the quarterback number 2, and pay him whatever, and then get rid of Trubisky and then find a quarterback number 3 somewhere else. That to me makes sense, because then Mason's still a Pittsburgh guy, unless he wants to go to test the free agent market and find a team to start with.
But who's going to start Mason Rudolph at this point?
Well, he's got no body of work the last year.
No, so. I even if the live chat want to name a name, I don't. Usually, people can ask me any question, I'll give you an answer. I honestly don't know who to start Mason Rudolph. I mean, think about it as we go to a break here. But I would just say, like, Mitch Trubisky's made like almost $40 million in the league. Like, ridiculous, man.
For playing like that, I could do that.
Oh my God, man. All right, with that, we're going to go to a break for our video sponsor. Name a team that Mason, in the live chat, think about it, like live chat folks, like name a team that you think Mason would start for next year, if not being the number 2 in Pittsburgh. But we'll go to a break. And we're back on Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with Marky D, as always. Yeah, Mark Malone in the live chat says, I'm not sure Rudolph would come back. I agree that I think if you handle this properly, and maybe they have this week, right? Maybe they have this week, and they're just, again, playing silly with the Carolina Panthers. But I don't know. The Texans or Saints? Sorry.
I've got a team. I just spun the random wheel on Google.
Yeah.
I got the Colts. The Colts. Dead set.
Ooh. Yeah, but I would have said that Mason's a younger Matt Ryan for them, and that didn't work. So I don't.
Who's the Colts quarterback now? Is it Matt Ryan?
Well, he's back there, yeah.
I thought he was injured. No, I thought he was.
Yeah, then they went to Sam Ellinger, and then they put Matt Ryan back in. Maybe he's injured again. I don't know. I've been off that one. I mean, Eric Askew says Texans or Saints, but again with the Saints, like. They've got like Dalton. I think they're drafting a quarterback.
Is Rudolph the franchise guy though that teams want? Probably not, right?
What do you mean the franchise guy?
Like, they always talk about the franchise quarterback building to get the franchise. The Kenny Pickett's a franchise, the next franchise guy. You got Mahomes franchise.
No,
You got
yeah. And Kenny Pickett, I'm sorry, no, Kenny Pickett is. Mason Rudolph's not. But that's why I think Mason is a chance to start elsewhere. But like the thing is, we've got a rookie quarterback who's going to their second year in the league next year, who is mobile, right? That means that he might get banged up a little bit. And you and I have talked about this before of no quarterback. I mean, I said at the start of the season, no quarterback in the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to play 14 games like this season. But I think you can't bank on the way the league's going with a quarterback. I mean, I don't think you ever can anyway with like injuries and stuff, that they're going to play every game. And that's why I think if you said to Rudolph, like, hey, we need you ready to start 3 or 4 games. And as Steelers fans, you sat there and you thought, okay, can Mason win us 2 or 3 of those 4 games? Yeah, he can, with the right pieces around him. Good to go. Easy.
Yeah, I think so. And plus,
and build the infrastructure around them. Don't focus picks on and money on quarterbacks. Lock Mason in for 2 years and build everything around him. And then if Kenny Pickett's injured and Mason loses a bunch of games, well, all the crowd out there that like tanking can get a high draft pick and all be hunky-dory with it. But at least we won't have committed $15, $20 million or even $10+ million to a backup quarterback position.
Right. Well, who else are going to be a backup quarterback anyway to Kenny Pickett next year? Because when you think about it, don't you just go with what you know rather than what you don't know? And what you know is Mason Rudolph right now as your backup.
Correct.
So you take another risk bringing another guy in that you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I'd rather.
And hey, I mean, people will yell at me for this, but honestly, if Mason Trubisky are both gone, Trubisky's gone. It's too expensive. You wouldn't like. I don't know. Look at a Carson Wentz.
The question in the live chat, Joseph Brown says, "I'm only trying to make a case here for Mason, but he's terrible. No other team wants him." I don't think he's terrible. I think he gets a real bad rap. I really do. The guy sat behind Big Ben for so many years. He came and did his job, and then he got injured with the helmet hit, and he got hit in the face with Earl Thomas. I think he hasn't been given a fair shot, to be honest. He's got a 9-7 record, 9-7-1 record, I believe, as a starter. He can play football. He can move the ball down the field. Sure, there's been picks and stuff like that, but all quarterbacks go through that. I don't think he's got enough rap. I mean, like enough chance in the NFL.
The reality is, though, it's Pickett, Trubisky, or Mason playing quarterback this weekend. If Pickett's not there, I know who I want as quarterback, and it's not Mitch Trubisky. That's what I'm saying.
And then maybe
I'm just saying, if you go back to what my point was before, is if Mason plays well in this game and he gets another shot before the end of the season, then you just say he's number 2.
This is what Craig says too from Facebook. After Rudolph being pushed to number 3, I don't think he would want to come back. What if he doesn't want to? He doesn't want to be a Steeler anymore. What?
Well, yeah, but he's on a $5 million deal. What I'm saying is, if you paid him an extra $2 million a year to made him stay put for 2 years, do you sit there just Mason and go, I'm going to go play and chase my dream of being a quarterback in the NFL? Would you sit there and say, hey, I'm making $7 million a year to be, and they've said to me, I'm going to be the number 2 behind Kenny
Right.
Pickett.
So you'd have to have structure, right? You don't want to have structure where and
then they say maybe we're going to use a late round draft pick on a quarterback, on a prospect. Then fine. I'm not saying you just start him this week and then you keep him. I'm saying it's like Mason, we're going to give you some shots in the final game of the season. Even if we're out of the playoffs.
I hope he plays and tears it up. I hope he's the best quarterback all out of all of them. The best one.
Well, I want Pickett to be the best quarterback.
No, I just say it's just funny for the narrative because it'd just be funny to see like everyone freak out again. Oh my goodness, is it Rudolph over Pickett? No, it's not Rudolph over Pickett, but it'd just be funny for the narrative. I think it'd be great to see him go out there and throw 3 TDs and get George Pickens the ball, because also this is the game we have to win. The Steelers got to win this one. Like, even just not for the playoffs, but for just go and win a game. Get back on that winning train again. They were doing so well before the Ravens game, and they had a chance to win that game too. Could have been 3 in a row. So yeah,
100%. It's just funny that this is where we've got to. Anyway, on the only other player on the injury report was Cameron Hayward, who did not practice on Thursday, full practice on Friday. Panthers, Brandon Smith did not practice. He's out. He's their linebacker. He's a rookie that I talked about in this week's War Room. Joel, what are you laughing at? I can't.
Just laughing at old Craig here. He said then I'd be confused and speechless if he lights it up. I'd be so happy because it would annoy it would annoy the Fire Tomlin crowd, and it would also annoy the Rudolph haters too. It'd be the best. Be the best. Actually, that's a lot of people who should be supporting the team. That's if you could. I won't start. All right. Next question.
Go.
Well, if you're already okay, a lot of these blokes and ladies who are like, okay, fire Tomlin. I hate Rudolph. Are you really a Steelers supporter? That's two people part of the team. Bench Najee Harris. They're all together, mate. They're all the same people.
No. Yeah, 100%.
Next question.
Next question. Well, I found that article from January 2021 where I wrote 3 reasons.
Oh, you found it? It's still there. The internet didn't.
Yeah, 3 reasons why Mason Rudolph shouldn't get the Terrell Edmonds treatment. They're sitting there on BTSC.com.
There you go, guys. How many comments did you get in that one? How much, who hard did you get?
I got a surprisingly limited amount of vitriol. I only had 42 comments.
Right. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's from Australia, stuff like that.
People a lot of people didn't read the article and understand actually what I was saying about the offense and air raid offense and where he's come from and not being set up ever for success with the Steelers because they've never done anything remotely at that point relating to an air raid offense. So yeah.
Well, speaking of the Rudolph show, what are your thoughts on Rudolph in the Matt Canada offense? If that's if that's a thing, is it? Does it bother you that he plays in this offense, that he's not mobile enough or whatever?
I think it's more, if you look at the air raid offense that he played in college, it's about quarterbacks. It's about players it's about the quarterback finding players that are open and then the player goes and does something. And that's still a bit of the centerpiece of Matt Canada's offense is putting players into space and shifts and motions, right? But, and even though an air raid offense uses more limited amounts of shifts, formations, or motions compared to what Canada does in his system, I don't think Mason doesn't fit the RPO sort of style, but perhaps if players are being put into space, it fits. But I mean, this is the thing, though. If he truly couldn't play Canada's offense, which is maybe also why he was considered QB number 3, although I think the investment in money in Trubisky and free agency and the just general perception investment in Trubisky and the draft pick, investment in Pickett meant that he was always going to be QB3 if, with the way things have gone on. But if he really truly doesn't fit that Canada offense, then they should have listened to any sort of trade offer they got, and then they should have kept Oladokun. So,
yep.
And if that's the case, it highlights back to the mismanagement that we've talked about before and what a basket case in a way it is that we've got the Canada offense and so much is being invested into that. It's hard to make that assessment from the outside.
And I made a mistake too. He's not 9-7-1 in his record. He's 5-4-1. Hasn't won a game in 2 years, but he had the record in 2019 of 5-3. What is it? It was him in the Duck show. So, hey man, we'll see what can happen. I don't know.
He would have won. They would have made the playoffs that year if he'd started.
Playoffs?
Yeah,
playoffs
that year, not this year. Anyway, back again to this injury report. Their other linebacker was full practice. Then they had Corey Littleton, outside linebacker, ankle limited Wednesday, Thursday, full on Friday. DJ Moore and Laviska Shenault are both questionable, which is kind of interesting because that would really affect their wide receiver stocks. Xavier Woods, the safety, was limited in Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday, full practice Friday, but still questionable, which is kind of weird. Maybe it's not pulling up as well as they thought, or they wanted to see how he recovers. And Damian Wilson, their middle linebacker, was not injury related, personal out, and did not practice Friday. He might be out. So I guess the takeaway for the Panthers is they may struggle at middle linebacker or inside linebacker, which would be interesting because they're a 4-3, which might help the Steelers in terms of running the football. But also their wide receivers look like they might be out. And some of the key wide receivers there, particularly guys that are bigger, that work, can do stuff in the run game. So it's kind of interesting in terms of the opportunity for the Steelers on offense, but a weaker potential offense from the Carolina Panthers. Anything stands out to you there?
Sorry, I kind of missed all of that. I was trying to think of another segment to finish the show. What'd you say?
Just go with the segment. It's fine. It's just one of those days.
Sorry.
Just go with the segment. Go with the segment.
I was like, I want to put you on the spot here because
go.
I'm looking at spinthewheelapp.com and it's got all 32 teams, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to choose when the wheel spins around for me, and it's all random. I want you to choose one player from that team when I say it who you would want on the Steelers. So that's why
cool. I like that. How many are we going to go through all the teams?
Nah, I can only spin the wheel once.
Oh, okay. All right, go.
Right. That's why I was distracted. So, all right, let's spin it.
Okay.
And oh, no way. Okay, I could just make it up too. By the way,
yeah, I know.
New England. New England. What player would you want from New England on the Steelers roster?
Probably
like any player. Any player.
They didn't take. Wasn't they take? I can't remember whether they took Cam Jurgens. No, Cam Jurgens. Philadelphia took. Yeah, I'd take Cole Strange, the guard from them.
The guard.
Or I'd take their cornerback. JC Jackson left. They've got another cornerback. Their other top cornerback. His name is a J as well. I'd take him. Either of them.
Right. We're going to spin the wheel again, but this time we're going to send one of our players who you want to go affect their team to be the worst team ever. All right. So pick your worst player on the Steelers. I'm going to spin it again. And whoever we get, you want to send the worst player to this team so they never win a game.
I like this segment. We should do that.
Spinning. And oh, you're joking. That's crazy. I'm not even making this up. The Carolina Panthers. Who do you send there to make them worse?
You made that up.
No, I didn't make it up. I'm spinning it away.
I'm gonna send them
Bush.
Yeah, it's tempting. I'm gonna send them James Pierre.
Real? I don't know. I think he's played all right this year, man. Some places. He got the interception off 2 weeks back, I think. Do you know?
All right, fine. I'm gonna send. I can't send Chris Wormley. He's injured. I'm gonna send.
Oh yeah, true.
I'm gonna send. No. Who I'm sending? I'm sending Malik Reed. Bye.
True. So you're going to make them have no pass rush whatsoever.
Correct.
Right? All right. I'm going to one more segment.
Actually, I should have said Trubisky. I should have said Trubisky.
Too late, man. Too late. You said Malik. Now, whatever team, I want to say you're going to buy or sell the backup quarterback for next year, whatever team it's going to be, all right? Does that make sense? So whatever team it lands on, if whoever the backup quarterback is for that team, do we buy them or do we not?
Okay, but you have the full... We'll have
that's your job, to look it up, mate. No, all right. So whatever team it lands on, whoever the backup quarterback is, do we bring them in or not bring them in as our backup quarterback? All right. The wheel is spinning. Okay, let's go. 3, 2. Oh, okay.
I like this segment. I really like this segment.
New York Giants.
Okay.
Who's their backup though? I have no idea.
So hang on. Let me pick it up. Well, I mean, someone might say that while I just bring it up. Someone might say that Daniel Jones is should be the backup quarterback, not the starter. Tyrod Taylor, I'm bringing him in, or Daniel Jones. Depends who's starting. Who's starting this week? I haven't been following the Giants, so I don't know.
So who's on their roster? You got Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, and who else they have?
Well, they're the top 2. You said backup. What's either one of them? They've been alternating.
Okay. Well, Daniel Jones is the starter, really.
I trade Trubisky for one of them, and we'll take Jimmy.
We'll
take Quincy Roche and whoever the backup is.
Would you rather Daniel Jones over Trubisky?
100.
Yep. Okay.
And he probably fits the Canada offense better, to be honest.
All right. Should we spin the wheel one more time?
Yeah. I want to. We've got a couple minutes. We can spin the wheel.
What else could we do? What's a question I can ask for the wheel? It's like that.
What about I ask you for the wheel?
Oh, okay. Well, you got to ask
me. How does it? What did you search? What do I have to search? Wheel spinner.
Oh, I can spin the wheel if you want, but you want the.
Nah, you might change it.
It's called Spin the Wheel.
Wall? Is it the one on Word Wall?
No, spinthewheel.app. All right. Okay. There's a plug for you. Oh, it's the anticipation of it all is so exciting. Right.
Okay. What this is going Christmas. How did you find the?
It's on a Christmas wheel movie spinner.
No, it's going wheels NFL.
You just don't get blocked or anything. Don't get any viruses or anything like that. But it's like the lucky 8 ball.
I don't trust it. All right, ask me a question of which defensive player would I take from whichever team you spin?
All right. So you're asking yourself that question.
Yeah.
And we're spinning away, mate. Maybe I'm going to get the virus in a minute too. Hang on a
I
minute.
agree, Eric.
Oh,
Eric has one
no
top, one
way.
top.
It's the Cleveland Browns.
Defender that I'd take from them. Easy.
Yeah.
Well, Denzel Ward's on too high a contract, but I'd take Greg Newsome or Grant Delpit in 3 seconds. Not even a question.
Right.
I wouldn't take Garrett. He's a dickhead. Oh, apologies. Bleep that out live.
Can't say that. If you were spinning the wheel, you wouldn't have been distracted.
Oh, I shouldn't say that.
Let's spin the
Apologies.
wheel one more time.
Apologies to everyone and their family. You shouldn't use language like that. You should not use language like that.
This team will never. Okay, right now, if this lands on the Steelers, this will be the hex of all hexes. This team will never win a Super Bowl ever again. All right, let's spin the wheel. And if it lands on us, I do apologize.
If it lands on someone that doesn't have a Super Bowl like Detroit, it's going to be so good.
Oh, sucked in Buffalo. Yeah, it's Buffalo. They'll never win again. All right.
Well, if they don't win one in the next few years with Josh Allen, that place is going to implode.
Yeah. Mate, I can't believe
one more. Give me one more.
I can't believe you swore on live TV.
Actually, do one. Would spin the wheel, and would I take their starting running back over Najee Harris?
Oh, that's a good question. All right. So the wheel of Aussie fortune, right?
Yeah.
Let's spin away.
And then I've got one after to close out the show. Spin one, and would I take their offense? Would I trade offensive coordinators, Matt Canada versus their coordinator?
Okay, would you take the starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys over Najee Harris, which is Elliott?
I'd take Tony. Oh, I wouldn't take Elliott. His contract's too high. I'd consider Pollard, man.
Pollard's a good running back,
and he's coming. And it's spicy as well because he's off contract this offseason.
Yeah. So, what's your last question? You know what?
You want to spin the wheel, and would I take the offensive coordinator from their team and straight swap him for Matt Canada? Yeah, I know, just me. I get addicted to this stuff, right? This is what I was like a couple of years ago with mock drafts. Like, I was just like, mock draft. I used to do an hour train trip into work each day, and I literally each way, and it'd be mock draft. Like, I love it. You should see me trade in a mock draft. I can end up with like 38 picks. Not even kidding.
I should just share my screen. There's no wheel. You'd be like, what? Yeah. All right. What was the question? I forgot.
Would I swap the offensive coordinator for the other team?
Okay. All right. You can also share your results too, but I'm not going to do that. All right. Would you swap it? 32 teams come down the wire.
I'm going to need another two.
No. It's the Bengals.
Bengals, who's there?
But they have a pretty good offense, though. I'd say yes.
Depends. Is Zach Taylor call the offensive plays? I can't remember.
Possibly. So you get a head coach too.
Yeah, that's kind of my thinking. Brian Callahan. I don't know much about him. Probably just because they're better. He's young. What's his background? He's been the OC there for Cincy for 4 years. He was at the Raiders as a quarterback. Yeah, I picked him in 3 seconds, man. Right. Yeah, because he was a coaching assistant at Denver back when, and offensive quality control back when they won the league. I mean, Peyton didn't do a lot. Then he was offensive assistant at Denver. Then he went quarterbacks coach in Detroit, quarterbacks coach in Oakland. Yeah, like someone that's got background as a quarterbacks coach and an offensive coordinator. Yeah, for sure.
Mike says it doesn't matter what team it is. It's a yes, so it could have been all 31 teams. So.
All right, guys. Here's one. Yep. Dude, spin the wheel. Would I trade Mike Tomlin for 3 first-round draft picks and 3 second-round draft picks in the next 3 years for the coach of that team?
Ooh, spins away, mate. Click of a button. And you're joking. It's back-to-back Bengals. That's a first on spin the wheel here on TDU. What's going on? Back-to-back Bengals. You want to trade Tomlin to the Bengals?
No, I wouldn't do that. For Zach Taylor, I wouldn't do that. Right. Not for Zach Taylor.
Okay, one last spin the wheel. This is Matty's new team. Right, Matty's new team, dead set. This is really, really fun. Matty's new team now. Oh, it's the Bears. Oh, the Bears. You got the Bears, Matty. Well, that's your new team. You're now supporting the Bears. I just made you a new team.
All right. Spin the wheel.
Okay. What's the question?
I'll define the question after you spin the wheel.
That's not fair. That's not how the rules work.
All right, spin the wheel. Spin the wheel. Who, and you have to answer as well. Who is your? You'll spin the wheel again for you. Spin the wheel.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite legacy player
Ooh.
from that team?
All right, then we end after that. After these two.
Yeah.
This is for you, mate. This is for you. This wheel's broken. Oh, Denver Broncos.
Oh, legacy player for the Broncos.
I know mine already. I kind of like the dude. He's kind of cool.
Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, true. I was going to go with Lynch. I thought Lynch was the safety.
Yeah.
He was all right.
Nah, but Brandon Marshall, like, you know,
Bit of a...
you think about what AB did with Ben. Like,
Yeah.
Imagine Brandon Marshall with.
He was pretty good. He got like 19 catches in one game, I think.
Mate, Brandon Marshall
nuts.
was unbelievable. And isn't it the late Brandon Marshall? Didn't he pass on?
I'm not too sure.
Oh, he didn't. No, I'm lying. He didn't.
No.
He was coaching Bingo in the.
Same question. What legacy player would I choose from this team to last spin the wheel? Because we had too addicted to this thing. It's just too much fun. But don't give me the Bengals. Give me the Browns. Give me the Browns. Legacy player or any player?
Legacy player.
Can I say Joe Hayden? I don't know. The Browns.
I think. Yeah.
You know what? Stuff it. Money Manziel. Bring him in. Bring him in, coach.
Oh my God.
No, I don't know.
Trubisky, but like no maturity whatsoever.
Yeah. All right. No more spin the wheel. We're all
no more spin the wheel. We're going to close out this week's show.
No more credit.
Mark, who's going to win? Are the Steelers actually going to win this game?
Yeah, they are. They're going to win. They're going to win 100%. Yep, that's it.
1%. 1%ers. That's what the motto for this season, if they can do this, will be like, it's all about the 1%ers.
They're going on a run. I reckon they're going on a Super Bowl run now. It's now nothing. And they just need the Jets to lose 3 times, Chargers to lose 3 times, and Pats to lose 3 times, and we're in it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Well, with that, we're going to close out this week's Steelers touchdown. I almost said War Room. I hope you enjoyed the show. I know I got a bit wild there. Just me, you're right. I'm addicted to that game. I probably will keep playing it in my own time. But think about, still listeners, even if you're catching up on the audio side, think about questions for next week's show because the spin the wheel is coming back.
Whoever I get to spin the wheel, I'll say go that team. All right. And we get 3, 2, 1. Oh, I can't even do it.
Just
go
Steelers.
Go Ravens.
Just say go Steelers. Wash your mouth
go,
out with soap.
Go Steelers. Go Steelers. Let's go. Oh, what a way.